He looks so familiar.
I'm relieved. Hi, Myrtle. How are you?
You want to see something funny, you better talk to Bertie. He's got all the motions about. He talks with his hands. His voice is exactly the same.
You look wonderful.
He's back.
Well, Jim and I live in Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Voice is the same.
I really got It's really all I got for you.
I don't think that they were completely different divisions, so I'm sure that you're married, Gary. I can all that too.
We're just waiting for people to come around.
I dug a bunch of holes today. I'm tired. Minnesota Archaeological Society. Down in Great Pond Island. Oh, and you're down there too? She's always down there. That's exactly what it was. I don't think he had a thing.
No, yeah, I talked to her about it. Yes, can have your attention for just a moment. What we're going to do is when we see Bob, we're going to all start singing happy birthday, so we'll just keep it quiet until then, so that there won't be a lot of noise. You want to come in the front?
Am I in the way here?
No.
They're outside right now.
One on three.
Yeah, but you forget to send me smoke signals all the way.
Where's Katie and Bert? They went back. They went back. False lock. You can try to when you started out. Well, he's 70 years old. It's taken him a long time to get in here. I see there's cards and they're just waiting for one big one. No, I don't see him yet.
Somebody was instructed to bring them in the morning.
They're coming in the front door. Tim's coming in with us? No, Joe, we're back. Tim and they know how to open it.
They should be entering right now. Any minute. You did it. I thought you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ron.
Video. That's what we can just Would you like a brandy? You want a brandy, Mother? Brandy
We all stick in the mud. I just wrote you a birthday card today.
They gotta put a flower on you. Turn around, they want to put a flower on you. Hey, Mary.
But I never
You thought it was going to be just
then they thought it was just the grandchildren. Isn't that wrong? Oh, look at these handsome folks.
Hey, they are there, Marty.
How are you, Mike?
Hi.
Welcome home. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, Craig. You'll never. How am I going to live with him after?
I don't know. Surprise. What? How you doing, Joe? Haven't seen you in a long time. How's everything going?
Good.
No, Joe, you said.
Yeah, come here a minute. I want you to come over, guys, while Mary, you like another daiquiri?
Have they seen Katie yet? No, they didn't know Bert and Katie were here, so they pulled us at the end and said, no.
Herb is here, but his wife is not.
Mike. Mike. On your hair is in the way. My hair is in the way.
They trying to take pictures.
Well, hon, you can only get through so far.
got this one further than nailed down. What do we do? Hey, how's your mouth?
Very good, very good. Similar kind. No, I want you to know that I took a look at the gaming office.
Do we want to sit with us?
Doesn't make a difference, you guys. It doesn't make a difference. You can put it this week, however. Well, whatever you guys want to do, run around that way, the ladies, let's do whatever you want to do. I'd like you to help.
Well, John is probably pretty formal now.
I'd like you
brought down.
I want to just my
Oh!
So,
I'm not bringing
That's what I heard, but it wasn't.
Oh, dear, you don't have to see all the people standing in line waiting to cheer me.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear love. Happy birthday to you.
What a hell of a deal.
Now you have to wait. Hold your time.
Take it easy on that cake, we gotta save it for next year. No girlfriend.
You kids always do it.
We just let him look at it.
Yeah. Take it back to
Did that guy get here with the camera? That guy here with that camera? Name for the camera.
In Dad's way. So let's give 3 cheers for Dad.
The mic. Oh, my goodness. Okay, here we go.
Stand up, Ed, so we can see it.
Thank you. Quit interrupting me, buddy. I am Everett Christensen, better known in the family as Sonny. And I am my favorite uncle's favorite nephew. And I can say that without equivocation because I'm the only one he's got. Now, they have been jerking me around so often in the last 2 months, I'm not so sure how long I'm going to be MC. They could take this thing away from me any moment. And if they could get a consensus among the kids, they'd probably do it.
Get the hook ready. Get the hook. Get the hook.
My only hope is that they aren't going to be able to get that consensus. Robert Francis Christensen was born October 10th, 1914, in the sleepy little town of Madelia, Minnesota. Where people go by choice and not by chance. He was the third son of Claude and Mary George Christensen, and was close to becoming what we might have called a menopause cadet. But not quite. He was at one time the mayor of Madelia for a day. That's true. He was the first Eagle Scout in Madelia. He was the center of the undefeated 1930 or 31 Blackhawk 11 football team. And I guess I could go on and on, but I won't, because he'll come and get me if I do. The first, we're going to hear from a number of different folks tonight. The first people we're going to hear from are the Manahans, and Bob was the best man at Manahan's, Cease and Ruth's wedding, which occurred just 50 years ago, in a week or so.
October 6th.
October 6th. That afternoon, his brother, who was also my dad, and his father, who was also my grandfather, I figured all that out on the way. Sharp, incisive mind that I have. Took him to St. Mary's in Winona to play Gustavus Adolphus. It was a good thing they played at Winona, because if I would have had to say they took him to St. Peter, you might get the wrong idea. Anyway, they took him to St. Mary's in Winona, where they played Gustavus, and that night, inspired by having been the best man at Manahan's wedding, he made the only touchdown he ever scored. And it was enough to beat Gustavus 6 or 7 to nothing. Did you get the extra point there too?
No.
I don't remember.
6 to nothing.
6 to nothing. And he was so inspired by that he decided to go out for the basketball team at St. Mary's College. And he was out there for 2 days, and the coach pulled him over. He says, "Bob, you're a fine guy. Have you thought about going out for wrestling?" In any event, the first little skit we got here is coming from the Manahans, and whoever is going to take over, come on up and do that. Pat Manahan from Adelia, Jim from Mankato, Ruth from Adelia also.
Let's give him a big hand.
We want to participate in this little roast to Bob Christensen, and we'll let some other people take care of the first 60 years or so. And we thought we would concentrate our efforts on the last with a little song which we have written, and we think that it might be titled a theme song for Bob.
My sister Pat is very talented, and she knows how Bob likes to plan ahead. Plan, plan, plan.
Can you hear us if we just...
Certainly.
I think you ought to say that Bugsy always says, "Dad, what's your costume going to be in next year's July 4th parade on the shores of Whitefish?" That's how he likes to plan.
He already knows what he's going to do.
So here you are, live and unrehearsed from beautiful downtown St. Paul. I'm forever planning my schedule. I plan weeks and months ahead. I won't waste an hour. What we do tomorrow? After Mass we'll tour, then brunch, then golf.
That's okay.
Then we'll meet some old friends. Wonderful people, you'll just love them. I know just the spot. Wonderful place, it's marvelous, you'll love it. And we'll catch early movies. When you plan, you can do a lot. That's all fine, but what about next week? Monday morning I'll play tennis. Tuesday is my college class. It's writing. Wednesday is the day for my poker.
We gotta start again.
It's time to
Try it again.
Monday morning I'll play tennis.
This is rehearsal.
Tuesday is my college class. Wednesday is the day for my poker play. And we'll have popcorn and beer, okay? Thursday I will weigh in. Have I gained a pound? I will swim it off on Friday. And then start another run.
That was terrific. Well, we were able to resurrect a few things this past week. We talked to a couple of moths in high places at the store locker room at Medelia High School. And we were able to pull out number 32 from the old Orange and Black. And we also got a hold of Ed Krause. And after Bob scored that touchdown against Gustavus, they retired his jersey. And the reason was, in those days, it was the only one that had a number on it.
That's planning ahead.
And everybody wanted to have it, so we've got that here tonight. But I'm not going to steal the thunder from Dr. John Austin, who is going to put these pieces together.
See, Dr. John, you've got younger.
But no spider, right? Okay, now we're going to have a little play here. And what we need to do is have all of you open up your imaginations. And we need to have our MC find another seat. He says he's always liked the one he's had, but that's okay.
All right.
Okay, I'd like you to open up your imagination, and we're going to set the scene up here. Imagine this to be a room in a small home in Medelia, Minnesota. Here we have a sitting room with 3 chairs lined up. There's a telephone over on one side, a lamp, and a radio. And it's the room for a person who's just about to graduate from high school, getting ready to figure out where he wants to go to college. And as he's making these kinds of decisions and thoughts, many things are weighing upon him, and he is cogitating upon all the things that this college career is going to mean to his future. And as he does this, He wonders how his folks will appreciate his decision, how his future children will appreciate this decision. And also he's also thinking about the possibility of maybe meeting a co-ed or two, but from the history we've had here just in the last few minutes, we know that football is a big thing in his mind. So also the chance to play some college football is also and probably paramount in his mind. So let's meet Bob Christensen. Bob is a lean, handsome, golden-haired young is the absolute essence of young manhood. The strength and the absolute essence of young manhood in 1932 out of Madelia High School. The absolute pride of the Blackhawks. At 17 years old, he is wondering, what about my future? And now we're about to meet a young lady who is to become a part of his life. This is a lush and lovely young lady from Hinckley High School. A track star, an absolute fast-moving young thing. Lush and lovely, passionate young lady from Hinckley High School. And now we're going to set the stage. Young Bob is listening to the radio. He's listening to his favorite high school or favorite college team, the St. Mary's Redmen out of Winona, Minnesota. And here is the play-by-play of the game. How many arms do I have? Man, oh man, what a football game this is. Just listen to the score. Winona State Institute 127, St. Mary's 3. Now St. Mary's has the ball on its own 1-yard line. And look at Robert here. He is aptly paying attention to every absolute sound coming from that radio. There's the center. Halfback's going around end. Elude front tackler. Cuts in from the sideline. He's down to the 30, the 40. He's into enemy territory. There he goes down the field. The 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5, the 3. He fumbles the Bob is absolutely crushed. And Bob is also very upset.
Come in.
Oh, so you're the famous Bob Christensen. Let me look at you.
Why, yes,
Are you anywhere?
yes, I am the famous Bob Christensen. But I don't know how famous I is.
Mr. Football himself.
Oh, shucks, man. You're just embarrassing me. Are you a football fan?
Am I a football fan? You know the coach at Winona State University?
Oh, you mean Corky Foster? The guy who's trying to get me to go there?
He's my uncle's best friend, Jack Dempsey. I'm his niece.
Well, I'm pleased to meet you. Miss Dempsey?
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Please call me Marge.
Won't you sit down, Marge?
I'd much rather sit on the couch.
I was just listening to the St. Mary's game. Oh, that St. Mary's, that's quite a school.
Oh, it's all right. Carrots went off it like steak.
Oh, I don't know. What's State got that St. Mary's ain't got?
Well, for one thing, it's got me.
But I'm talking about football.
Marge.
Oh, Marge, if you think you're going to get me to go to State, you've got another thing coming.
Oh, but Bob, dear, you're not being completely fair. You know, that lamp is shining in my that I could persuade you to come to stay, Bob dear. You know, you've got an awfully cute smile.
Well, gosh, you'd offer me everything. Your uncle's really been pitching.
Don't be so sure.
Oh, shucks, you're not interested in me anyway. You were just thinking of that because you're thinking of your uncle, that's all.
Don't be so sure. I think you could be a wonderful combination, you and I. Don't you think so?
Oh, I wonder how the St. Mary's came out.
Don't you think you'd be king of the campus? You could go steady, and I could be your girl and wear your fraternity pin.
Oh, I sure wish I was playing.
You're so tall and and so yummy.
I think I'd have called a quarterback sneak.
I think you'd be best in the huddle.
Oh, look here, Marge. All this kissing is no good. You're not going to do any good. Oh, but,
Ring, ring, ring. The telephone is ringing. Ring, 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 ring. Telephone, ring, ring, ring.
Don't go away. I'll be right back. Hello?
Marge, this is your Uncle Jack. How you doing on Bob?
All settled. Everything's perfect.
Great, wonderful, Marge. I knew you could do it.
Yes, I'm enrolling at St. Mary's tomorrow.
Here's the script for you.
Now that Evan has found his seat, we'd like him to leave it. And in his sterling and dulcet tones, he will continue this program. I know why you asked me to be MC. It was so that you could look good in comparison. Next, we're going to hear from a longtime friend of Uncle Bob's, Andy Schmelzel. I'm going to tell you a little story about how Andy first got to Madelia. Some of the people who live here, or some of you here tonight, have not had the wonderful opportunity to be in Madelia, but many of you have. And Andy got down there one night when they were going to school, they meaning Uncle Bob and Andy and one of your other classmates, I don't know who
John
that was.
Thompson.
John Thompson. And Uncle Bob had a Model T, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you decided to bring 1925. To bring him down to Madelia. And on the way down, where's Andy, by the way?
Right here.
Are you still? You probably remember that stuff. On the way down, Uncle Bob kept telling his friends about the fact that his folks were really nice people, but they didn't really have a lot of money, so they shouldn't they expect to have a great weekend or have pretentious surroundings or anything like that. In Madelia at that time, there was a guy named Ed Tiedekin, and for anybody who went to Madelia at that time, although I don't remember seeing this myself, to say that his house looked like a junkyard is to make a disparaging remark about a junkyard.
the junk man.
Oh, he was. And he lived in the junk pile. Is that right? Well, in any event, there's a story.
Sold it.
He did.
Sold it.
He did. Okay. Well, apparently he bought more than he'd sold after that. So, in any event, instead of going to the home of Claude and Mary Christensen, Bob took his friends to Ed Tiedekin's place. He said, "This is it." With that, Andy, This is it.
Well, I think since this is an election year, we got to get to the facts. The call went out in the fall of 1932, far and wide, for all interested to join the camp of the Redmen. It's at Terrace Heights, and the response wasn't overwhelming. But there was a response from Madelia, and there was also a response from a little town in northeastern Wisconsin. Well, Uncle Bob here survived. I think I lasted 4 or 5 weeks. But I did make a real good friendship, and that was in 1932, 52 years. And I valued that greatly, very greatly, over all these years. I think on your Model T, the first trip you took was to Sturgeon Bay to take me home. Me and Bob Mayer, after school was out that year. We loaded the car with our luggage. There wasn't room for Mary Lou or Kathy.
Get me out of here, Mike.
It was only a 2-door, you know. No rumble-seat. But it was convenient to watch the boat races later on. And also, there were a lot of things that, you know, through these years, and I was trying to think of some of them. A lot of things I'm very grateful for. And Bob was working at 3M. I was down in Nebraska. The war came on, and through his suggestion and encouragement, why, I ended up here, and of course that was a tremendous thing in my life.
Good break for 3M, too.
Thank you. I think that I'm just delighted to be here and to have all this fun, but also, of course, I'm pleased that it's been such a good life, and I certainly hope that the years to come are even more rewarding.
Thank you, Andy. Next, we're going to hear from a good friend of Bob's at 3M. And Bob said about this gentleman, he said, if I had the time, he told me earlier this evening, if I had the time, I could write 3 books about him. And my response to that was, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So, sit down then. He hasn't written the 3 books yet, but here's Bill Lundquist to tell us about Bob.
This isn't the first time I've said happy birthday to Bob, although it's by far the most elaborate occasion. Back when we both worked in the tape lab, we used to say happy birthday to each other once a year because my birthday is on October 9th, his was the 10th, John Learwood was the 11th. Back in those days, Columbus Day was on the 12th.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was really a pretty happy time of my life, and I think of Bob's also. There wasn't any friction in the tape lab because we all had so much work to do that nobody was looking for any extra work. Bob had a lot of work to do at home also. Once in a while on Monday mornings he'd come in late because he had to help Marge with the washing. I don't think everybody was in diapers, but there must still have been a lot of clothes to wash. And Bob must think back at those days with a great deal of pride because he had a lot to do with development of some of the new products that have become major parts of the company today, magnetic tape, filament tape, surgical tape, stuff like that. And in his job there as head of what do you call it?
Applied research.
Applied research.
You were the head of
fundamental respect, please.
Anyway, he hired such notable people as Lou Lair, who is now chairman of the board, Al Jacobson, who is in charge of about a third of the company, and Carl Calabrese, who happens to be with us tonight. He resurrected from being marooned down in Copley, Ohio, and Cal just retired from 3M October 1st this year as head of a division that is larger than the whole company was in the 40s when we were there. So again, Bob, I'd like to wish you a happy birthday.
Wonderful.
You didn't tell me that Mr. Lundquist was a punster. He said there was no friction in the tape line. When you hear a name like Cal Calabrese, you got to think of an all-American everything. Football, basketball, a star at 3M, and a star at St. Mary's before that, and a good friend of Bob's over the years, Cal Calabrese.
Thank you. You read that just the way I wrote it. My relationship with Bob goes back some 42, 43 years. We are fellow alumni from St. Mary's in Winona, and then following that, of course, we became associated at 3M. In fact, about 40 years ago, Bob hired me into the tape division. And there was one little incident that occurred during our working relationship that maybe he's forgotten about, but I'd like to refresh his memory. Does the word posy mean anything to you? Would you like to leave now? We had a lot of projects in those days, and always were trying to prioritize. And one day, we got word from Mr. Borden, who ran the entire tape operation and practically 3/4 of 3M at that time. And he called Bob over, and Bob took me. We went into Mr. Borden's office, and he says, "We have a problem here." He said, "There's a gentleman in Detroit, and he's got an idea, and he wants to buy some tape from us, but I'm not too sure the idea is a good one, and I'm not too sure we want to become involved. And we'd better find out whether or not this is a reasonably good application for tape or whether we're only going to get in trouble." Well, the idea this gentleman had, and the day after we had the meeting with Mr. Borden, incidentally, he had a 2-page spread in Life magazine. Now, Life magazine at that time was probably had the biggest circulation going in the U.S. But he had a 2-page spread in the magazine, and he was advertising strapless bras. And he had conceived the idea of taking cloth and circles, putting a little fringe around it, and then put some 2-sided tape on there, and then slap them on. And he had pictures in this Life magazine of girls walking down the beach, shot taken from behind, very provocative, you know, and it aroused a lot of interest. At the same time, he had a little coupon at the bottom of the ad to send in your $15 and get a pair of these. So there we were with a situation where he had planned an application and we hadn't approved it. Anyway, the assignment Bob gave me, he always gave the assignments. The assignment he gave me was to get to Detroit to this gentleman and somehow hook or crook come back with a half a dozen pairs of these to see if they really work. And I did, came back, and I recall we went back to Mr. Borden's office with these, and he said, "Well, now, how can we tell if these work?" He said, "I don't know." He said the pictures he had in Life magazine, he had girls swimming, he had girls playing tennis and volleyball. He said, "I can't imagine whether or not these things will hang on." He said, "If they don't, you know, we'll be sued to death." Well, we didn't quite know what to do about it, but Bob had an idea. And if I had a camera, that would be one shot. Well, really, there are 2 shots I would have liked. There were 2 shots I wish I had in my portfolio. Bob, this was now in the executive office building on the second floor, and he took one of these, and he went into the laboratory, and he rolled up his knee pant, his leg beyond his knee, and he slapped one on his knee. There he is with his pant rolled up, this thing taped to his knee, and then he goes over to the wash basin, fills it with water, and puts his knee in there. I wish I had a picture of that. And then the only other picture I wish I had is the door opened, and in walked Mr. Bush. He saw that, he turned right around and walked out. And I wish I had a picture of the expression on his face. Well, the sum and substance of the whole thing was the program never did fly, fortunately. Bob, this has been a superb party. I didn't realize that we were going to have to follow the Tyrone Guthrie rejects. I wish you a very, very happy birthday and many more to come. And I only hope that when I get to be 70, I can have a party half as good as this. That won't be for 25 years.
Thanks, Cal. Helen Conlon O'Brien was a student at St. Catherine's College, and she was looking for a place to live where she might work for her room and board. She heard about the Christensens from a priest at St. Leo's, and he told her that they had 5 of the most wonderful kids in the world. And she didn't care about the most and the wonderful. She was less interested in the 5. So she said, no way was I going to go over there and live in that house. But for those of you who know the Christensens, you know that you don't always do what you want to do when you get in their environment. To make a long story short, they finally, after a number of phone calls by Marge, I'm told, they got Helen over there to talk. She said, I'll come over and talk to you about it, but I really don't think I'm interested. Before the evening was over, Bob had gone to pick up her clothes, and she moved in that night. And she's lived happily ever after. I had a delightful time dining with Helen. Helen, come on up and talk to us.
Well, Sonny really gave it to you straight. It wasn't exactly that way. Father Murray told me about the Christensen family, and I never was good at babysitting. I was not interested, but Marge kept calling. Why don't you at least come and talk to us? You know? And she just wore me down. So I did come over there, and it was a beautiful fall evening. It was right after Muggsy's birthday party. And Matt was just a baby, but the other children were all in their, they had their baths, and they were all in their nightgowns and pajamas, and like little blonde, blue-eyed angels. And
Things haven't changed much.
I walked in the house, and I'm not exaggerating. There was, it just, it was something, there was just, it hit me. It was something physical. There was just, there was a gut feeling, there was a warmth and a love in that family that I've never met anyplace else, and it's still there. And it's true. Bob went back to where I was staying. We picked up my clothes, and I moved in that night. And I stayed there for 4 years. And of course, living there for 4 years and addressing them, you know, every day, it was Mr. Christensen, Mrs. Christensen, you know, such a mouthful. I started Mrs. C and Mr. C. And after a while, a lot of their friends were calling them Mr. C and Mrs. C. And it was really beautiful. I loved it. Every night at dinner, it was like a 3-ring circus. It was fun. Bob would sit at the head of the table, Marge would be at the foot of the table, and I would sit next to Marge on her left, and Bob would go around the table, well, what did you do today? What did you do today? It was just fun, you know, I loved it. And every holiday, it was, they'd just go all out for it. You know, Valentine's Day, Marge would have the whole house decorated in red. Christmas, St. Patrick's Day, of course, that was a big day. Halloween. I mean, it was wonderful.
St. Patrick's Day.
You did. Listen up, Marge.
I can remember decorating Easter eggs till way into the night before Easter. And, I don't know, it was really wonderful. And I just want to say, I remember at one point, Bob had Father Keller, who was head of the Christopher movement. He had him to dinner one night. Bob was really very impressed with him. His philosophy was, you can change the world. And Bob had him to dinner one night, and he was really marvelous. And all I can say is that I feel like, Bob, you've changed the world. You've changed your world, you've changed my world, and I'll always be grateful to you.
Thank you, Helen.
I have to just
left.
say something about Helen.
Sure.
Helen walked in the house that night, and I don't know if she really loved us yet. But I do know that Bob and I fell in love with Helen immediately. She became just like another daughter to us, and of course she still is today. And there's another one I'm sitting here looking at too. Right
Coming up later.
Good. I don't know. I never would have raised all these kids if it hadn't been for those girls.
Well, Helen left before Mary Pat and Joe came on the scene. So what she doesn't know is when Bob quit going around the table and saying, what did you do today? It was when Joe was in the first grade and he said, if I thought it was any of your business, I'd tell you. Paul Bard used to ride shotgun for Bob on the way to and from 3M and vice versa. And, you know, when you drive 25, 30, 40 minutes to work each day, you've got to find something to do. So they started reading books to each other, I'm told. And finally they got to a book one time called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And Bob has told me that Paul Bard is okay, and now it's Paul's turn to tell us that Bob's okay.
I remember Bob is a great introducer. Bob introduces people. And he introduced me to a number of things. He introduced me to 3M. I didn't know anything about 3M. I certainly didn't know about the Posies. I had just spent 3 years at the State Training School in Red Wing, and I didn't want to have anything to do with Posies. But Bob introduced me to a carpool. Now, you have to remember, this was in the early 50s, and a carpool, I thought it had something to do with swimming. Because Bob was a swimming coach, and I just thought that was it. No, it wasn't the way it worked. At the time, I had a 2-door Pontiac, and we got started on this carpool. And the inmates in the carpool was, one of them was Bob Christensen Jr. And he played football. And he had the biggest goddamn shoulder pads. Incredible. And in those days, the hip pads were all in one piece. And these things had to go back and forth, you see, because at Cretan, they didn't have a bus, and they just had to get the equipment there the best they could. So, you know, the kid couldn't go out for track or soccer, you know, a pair of shorts and socks. No, he had these big football pads. And then there was a kid, he had a kid by the name of Steve. And Steve was one of the boys in the band. And of course, when they had to go to the games, he had to carry his musical instrument, which was a tuba. And before I said anything to this miserable kid, I said something to the miserable old man. And is there any chance you could convert this kid to a piccolo? That's when Bob introduced me to the station wagon. Don't make any, you don't make any changes in Bob's plan. Nothing has changed. And of course, in the meantime, they had a daughter in this carpool. We had to go way out of our way. We had to go from Cretan at Hamlin Randolph all the way over to what is now William Mitchell Law School.
OLP.
And those days it was called OLP. Never did find out what OLP is. And Margaret Mary was reduced to mugs. And tonight she found out that she should have sued then. The mother got on her today about what is going to happen. Well, what's going to happen? And Muggs went next door and called Joe and public defender. Just couldn't arrange an attorney, but she thought of it. Well, I really enjoyed the station wagon and Bob, and it is true. It is true that Bob and I would read to each other. Usually pornographic, but occasionally we'd get something a little more uplifting. Back to the posing. But I was rummaging around in the basement, Bob, today, and believe it or not, folks, this was one of the books that we were reading. And on the cover, if you believe this or not, it was your writing, and it says, "Take to Lake, Show Marge." The name of the book is The Confidence Cap. But unbelievably, the date is October 13th, 1972, and I think it's about time you took this to the lake.
I can't imagine how you ever got to work. And I'm for sure you weren't ready to go to work when you got there. All Barb and Bob used to go hunting. And in one of their early hunting escapades, they went duck hunting. And they were sitting in a boat, and Art had a vest on. And they were out there for about 15 minutes, and he reached into his left side of his vest and pulled out a little flask, opened it up, and he says, "Bob, would you like a little drink?" Bob says, "No, I came to hunt, not to drink. I do that at home." So he says, "All right." Got a little snort, put it back in. 15 minutes later, he took it out again, opened it up, he says, Bob, would you like a little drink? And Bob says, no, I came to hunt, not to drink. He says, all right, sir. Along about noon, Art threw that one in the water in the afternoon. The same thing went on, he pulled one out of the other side. 15 minutes, and Bob sat there with his repeater pump gun, waiting for it. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he had finished off, Bart had finished off both bottles, thrown them both in the drink. A lone duck came flying over, and Art had a 20-gauge single shot. And Bob saw that duck come over, and he took his repeater, and he went ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Emptied the whole magazine, and the duck just kept flying. Art took his 20-gauge single shot. One shot fired the duck. The duck dropped right next to the boat. The recoil threw Art out of the boat. He came back and leaned over the side, and Bob says, God, he says, if I could shoot like that, I'd drink too. And Art says, hell, that's nothing. A flock like that, I usually get 5 or 6. Ladies and gentlemen, Art Boyd.
I brought my duck calls along.
I was going to tell that story after you finish.
Well, actually, the story you told is very close to the one I'm going to tell. You know, I often think back, Bob, about the annual duck hunting expeditions we had. We'd plan our vacations so that we had 3 or 4 days in October that we could go out and just the 2 of us and duck hunt and get away from work for a few days. Bob is, you know, was a very crack shot, contrary to what has just been said. Bob was very good on his 12 gauge, and he even borrowed my 20 gauge off and on. He was excellent at that, and even with Marge's 410, he was pretty good. I'm going to tell you about how he handled these ducks. We'd take this 3 or 4 days vacation, and we'd start out on a Sunday afternoon. We'd wait till opening weekend. Instead of going out on Friday like most everybody else did, we'd start out on Sunday afternoon. We'd go up to the cabin in Lake Coronas. We'd spend the night there, and we didn't want the pressure of the opening day hunting season. So then we'd hunt, after everybody left, well, then we'd hunt Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. And we'd hunt out in the Elbow Lake, Fergus Falls area. And always it was bluebird weather. It was just beautiful weather. All the ducks were sitting back in the potholes. We needed the exercise, so Bob and I'd go out there and we'd work the potholes. We'd go the back roads and take our glasses, field glasses along, and we'd spot the ducks. And we got to know all these potholes after a while. We usually got our limit, and certainly we had many duck dinners in addition to that at the cabin. But on this one particular afternoon, I'm sure that Bob's going to remember this, the ducks were very scarce. And we were out on the back road, and we had our field glasses out, and we came to a marsh that was way back in. We hadn't been there before, and way back in the corner were about 30 mallards. And we got pretty excited about it, and we worked our way down. We had our camouflage outfits on, and we got down way down in the corner, and we had to be very quiet because there wasn't any wind that day, and we had to make sure there was no noise. We crawled for about an hour and a half, and you can see Bob and I crawling along on our camouflage outfits, getting closer and closer. We had to be very careful not to frighten the mallards, and we got in within a few feet. And there was good cover there, so we were right behind the reeds, and here were the 30 mallards right in front of us. And we'd always worked well together, so Bob shot to the right and I shot to the left. So we looked at each other and we rose up. We just happened to use eye signals for that. We rose up and Bob shot his 3 shots. I shot my 3 shots. Bob had one in his mouth and he shot that one too. So he slipped that in the gun at the end, and we had 7 shots. We expected to see 6 mallards drop, and not a thing happened. Mallards flew off. There were 30 of them. They were on their way, and well on their way, and we looked at each other, and we were just flabbergasted. And apparently we'd been flock shooting, like you've been mentioning here. Instead of picking out the ducks way, we were flock shooting. So this was one episode I'm sure you remember about. Or rather, we were rather flabbergasted about it. But on these trips, Marge always wanted us to bring back 1 or 2 geese. And she used these for Thanksgiving or on special occasions, and we really seldom failed her. Of course, this was the middle of the week after opening weekend. There weren't any wild geese around, so we had to figure out how to get these geese. We had a farmer friend around that way, so we would go see the farmer friend. He'd say, well, go out in the yard and just pick the goose. You had to catch it. There was no shooting. This is where Bob excelled. And, it was kind of like a Laurel and Hardy comedy, really, because you guess which was which, but it was kind of hilarious because you try to bottle this goose up in the corner, you know, you pick the biggest goose, try to bottle him up in the corner of the fence, and I've seen Bob many times grappling with the goose down on the ground, and all of a sudden the goose gets away again, flaps away, and off he's gone. But in any case, we'd bring our goose, we'd get our goose, and I don't know what Bob ever told you, Marge. I'm not real sure what he said about this, but we always brought these back. We had 2 snow geese every time for it. And just as a reminder of these, I brought along a little memento here. I'm not sure you can all see this, but this is Bob with 2 of our snow geese. They're about 20 pounds apiece. And I want you to notice that this is taken beside a slough.
Such good time.
And I have another little photograph.
Thank you. Oh, really? Good.
Thank you.
When Helen Conlon left the Christensens, Marge needed another first sergeant. So onto the scene came Kay Michael. Kay?
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah, Kay, yeah.
Kay Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this. Helen's a hard act to follow after all her work and effort put into the family. I came, and there were Herb, I think, was the baby, about 6 months old at that time. We had some wonderful times together. Bob, do you remember how to dance? We learned how to dance in the atrium of their house. If he doesn't do well, it isn't my fault.
I married him because he was a good dancer.
Steve, you were something else. You had your magazines underneath your mattress, and I'll never Lindsay was a dear friend of mine, and we have I have a wonderful picture of you and Mrs. C. and I together. Herb, you're the baby, and you're a dear. You didn't move very far because you were still in the crib. But Ann was something else, and she was my little holy terror. She used to travel around quite a bit and go down the street. But she was a dear also. And Kate, and all you wonderful kids. I really enjoyed you. And I've enjoyed staying friends with your parents and with you all these many, many years. They've been a very good influence on me, and I love you all dearly. I didn't expect to be here, but I'm glad to be here.
I have to tell you one other thing, that Kay named some of her children after our children. She has a Matthew, and a Nicholas, and an Ann. Is that right?
Yes.
And Kay and John have 6 lovely children of their own. From age what to what? How old is the oldest?
Our oldest set of twins are now 20.
That's Ann, no.
That's Matt and
That's
Michelle.
Michelle,
And then we have a 19-year-old who is Jim. We have Ann, who is a senior in high school now. And Nick and Chris, our latest twins, are 14 and a half. I must say one thing. I was a very shy student when I met the Christensens, and I still am very shy. But when we were up at the lake, up at the Foley camp, we used Father Foley's home at that time, and Marge was pregnant at the time. And we used to go down to the camp where they were had a fire going,
And we would go down and see all the campers and all the counselors and all that. And she'd say, Kay, put a little flower in your hair.
Hey, Margie, it worked, honey.
Mugsy is a living, she used to sit on the dock, you know, Mugsy, and watch all these counselors go by. And I'd say, Mugsy, just kind of wave over there. But I have to tell you about Catherine. Kay came out one night. One of the sisters was saying, Catherine's called. This girl was looking for a place to live. And Kay came with her mother. And to this day, I still have very wonderful memories of Catherine's mother. And many times ask her to help me in my prayers. And we did not interview Catherine. Her mother interviewed her in our living room to see if we were fit and proper for Kay to live with us. And I just think of that many, many times.
My mother was very dear to me,
Yeah.
and she was very
Dear to us, too.
To a lot of people.
And would it be Bert that was the baby and she made the cute clothes, I think, the little overalls.
My mother died shortly after that.
That's right.
Thank you.
I met Mike McTeague this past summer when he was renting the cabin next to Bob and Marge's place up on Whitefish. And Bob said, let's go golfing with Mike McTeague. I didn't know that he had said to him previously, had said to Mike, the kid's coming up next weekend, and he's not much of a golfer. So let's make him look good. So when I hit the ball into the rough, Mike could run over there and throw it back on the fairway, and then it was up the green. And then Bob would pick it up and throw it up on the green, so I just had to kick it in. I appreciate you making me look good up at Whitefish. Now's your chance to make Bob look good.
Well, that's kind of easy to make Bob look good. I have this whole 2-hour program that I can present here, but I'm going to cut it short. Maureen and I go back some years with Bob. We've been through some political wars together, which some people haven't mentioned here before. But Marge and I used to jump hedges, run away from dogs, and do all kinds of things to knock on doors and say, you know, this is Mike McTeague, and I'd like to introduce you to Mrs. Christensen, and her husband is running for the legislature. And usually we would get a door right in the nose, just like this. You know. But then Bob was obviously a person who should have represented us in the legislature and did for several years, and did a wonderful job there, and supported many of the activities that are now going on in the state of Minnesota were started by people like Bob Christensen, not the least of which was all of the activities that are associated with non-public education, and in particular Catholic schools in the state of Minnesota. But Bob was obviously a freshman legislator. And in his class, of course, they have an orientation session, and he was one of the first people in his class to find the men's room in the state capitol, and he then set a record. I mean, if you found the men's room first off, you would set a record. But however, the speaker came to him one day, just after he was in the House, and said, Representative Christensen, one of your big bills is due next week. And he said, don't worry, Mr. Speaker, my check is in the mail. Obviously, he didn't understand the process at that time, but he grew into it. You know that we have a kind of a mixed marriage here. We've got Scandinavian and an Irish person. It's nice to have an Irish person married to somebody. And early on in the, very early on in the marriage, Marge, of course, had this considerable devotion to St. Joseph, and would pray to St. Joseph each and every evening, and in fact prayed so hard that Marge actually came to believe that St. Joseph would appear to her eventually.
I'm sure I throw this now.
Marge, where does it say in the script that you say something in this whole thing? Anyway, so one night about, I'd say it's later on in the evening, about 11 o'clock, Marge and Bob usually go to bed very early, 9:30. And there's a knock at the door. And so Marge says, Bob, go and answer the door. So Bob rushes down to the door, and of course Marge is saying her prayer to St. Joseph at that time, anticipating the apparition. So about 10 minutes pass, and Bob comes back to the bedroom and crawls into bed, and Marge is in anxious anticipation and says, Bob, was it St. Joseph? And Bob says, well, he says, I'm not very sure, but he says, but I tell you, by the smell of him, I think it was really St. Patrick. Maureen and I took a little time to, pardon me there? We're leaving now. Maureen's leaving now. That's it. She's going. We did a little genealogy study of the Christensen family, and I don't think I have the paperwork here, but I'm trying to remember it. This goes back a long, long time now. We spent a couple $100 doing this. I mean, this, genealogy is no easy matter. So we went back and we tried to explore the Christensen family. And we found out that there was a Robert Michelangelo Christensen. And we found out that while Michelangelo was doing the Sistine Chapel, Robert Michelangelo was doing the closets and the baseboards. That's part of Bob's genealogy. What was the other one?
Oh, don't get me involved.
Oh, don't get you involved in this. Okay. As you know, there's usually some person in the family tree that doesn't turn out the way we'd all like to turn out. In fact, we discovered that one of the very early medieval Christensens literally married the black sheep from the farm next door. So, I mean, that's how the black sheep got in the family, Robert. There are two incidents, or vignettes, or whatever you'd like to call them, that I think really speak to who, what, why, and how, and where Bob Christensen is all about. And those two incidents deal with children. And children are very important in our lives, and obviously in the lives of all of the people in this room. We spend 2 or 3 weeks every year on the shores of Whitefish with our children. And one of my dispositions in life is that the whole matter of family deals with leisure. And part of that leisure is just abstracting yourself from whatever is going on in your day-to-day world. And that's typically called, in our society, a vacation. And so when we take our vacation, we go and ensconce ourselves in a cabin that is right next door to Bob and Marge's home. And that has been the most wonderful experience for Maureen and I and our children that they will probably have, and we will probably have, in our lives. And two, as I say, incidents are indicative of that. Our daughter Megan is an inveterate fisherman. I don't really know too much about fish, and I really don't care to know too much about fish. Ev knows a lot about fish, and Steve and Bob know a lot about fish, and Joe, but I don't want to know anything about fish. But when it came time to explain to Megan, or to just take her aside and talk to her about how you're going to fillet 25 or 30 crappies, the person who did that was Bob Christensen. Out behind that garage is a table, and he took her aside and just spent about an hour and a half of his time, his busy time. And you know, that's one of the things we tend to forget too. And other people should stand up and talk about this besides me, that when you so-called retire, that doesn't mean you're not busy. And in fact, you are busy. You have many things to do. And Bob and Marge have dedicated their lives, since they've gone to permanent residency on the North Shore, to very, very, very busy activities. But he took approximately an hour and a half, just take Megan aside and show her how to fillet these 25, literally 25 or 30 crappies. And then, the next day, we all sat on that picnic bench right out there in front of the cabin and had the breakfast. And Megan will never forget that, and we'll never forget that. But what that took was an hour and a half of his time. And he took that time. And we thank you for that time. And then there's a tradition. And then there's a tradition. Several persons in this room, maybe more than several, have been taken out from the dock of the Christensen cabin to the far shores of Whitefish and asked to touch that shoreline, and all you have to do is swim back. And there's two charts that I know of, and one records all those persons who have done that. And in my mind, the whole matter of children is a challenge. And what we have to do is provide the appropriate challenge. And some persons accept that challenge, and some persons will reject it. And some persons are capable of accommodating the challenge the first time, some will take a second time, some will take a third time. But if they can meet that challenge, that means a great deal to them for years and years and years. And so our son John, a year ago, was afforded that challenge by Bob. How would you like to go out and try and swim whitefish? And he did that. And that was a monumental moment in his life. I mean, just the fact that he accepted that challenge and he accomplished that particular feat was something that meant a great deal to him, and he will remember that when we have his 70th birthday party in this room. And this year...
I'm going to tell him about that.
All right. I wish you would, Bert, because we'll be here for his 70th. And this year, we took 3 of our daughters, 11, 12, and 13. And in fact, Maureen told Kathleen, you know, maybe it would be better for you just to ride in the pontoon. We're not sure you can do this, and we don't want any problems. But the person who initiates all of this is Bob. He said, if the lake is calm, why don't we take the children and take them out and see if they can swim whitefish? Because that's part of the tradition. And I believe in tradition. And Marge rings the bell. I was going to get to the bells here. See how hard this is with a person who is always convincing? She has a script, I know. And so we put the 3 of them and several other persons, including Kevin and Joe, into that lake. And Joe, next year we're going to be there. We're going to ring that bell for you, Joe. I'm telling you that right now. We're going to ring that bell for you. And we put them in the lake, the 3 of them, 11, 12, and 13. And you know, if you don't take pride in yourself and pride in other persons, there is no pride. If there's no pride, there's no humility. And he helped us do that. And those 3 young women swam that lake. All 3 of them. In fact, when they got a quarter mile out, a storm started. And there were white caps, and they all made it. And Kevin made it. And Joe, you came darn close. And next year we're going to be there with you, and you're going to make it. And I think that's what's important. That's the kind of things I'm going to remember. That's the kind of things I hope he remembers. That's the kind of things that everyone at this front table I hope remembers. That he's always had that interest. He's always had that concern. And he's always been willing to give that hour and a half. And that's what we'll all remember about you, Bob, that you always were a giver. Thank you so much. There are children and there are grandchildren. And Bob and Marge told me one time that the reason they call grandchildren is that they always are. And the reason they call children is because they can do many things. So now, according to the script that Steve wrote for me, we're going to hear from the grandchildren. And I'm not just sure what that involves, but I assume somebody does, somebody knows. Who is the major domo of this operation?
Come on, Mike. There's only 2 or 3, right?
Trees. Where's Hark? Trees, everybody jump in. Somebody.
There was, I don't know how old we were, but then we started, my grandparents started this tradition of Grandchildren's Week. Yeah.
Introduce everybody.
No, I'll introduce everybody.
Introduce wants to talk.
Yeah, do I know
Some people.
Okay, remember Bob, we all got name tags. Yeah. Okay, first of all, we have Mike Ligorio, or Craig Ligorio.
My name tag's been in Sweden for a year.
Yeah. Craig Ligorio, and Steve and Kathy are his parents, and Mike Ligorio, their brothers. We have Kevin Bohr, Kristen Bohr, and Teresa Bohr, and Muggsy is their mother. We have Joey, and Uncle Joe and Aunt Teresa are his parents. And we have myself, Julie, and my brother Dan, my dad, Bob, and his wife Nancy, my mom. But anyway, what we're going to do for you is we're going to sing a song that we learned from this week that we spent every year. I think it was like 10 years, and I don't know what year, 10 years I think that we went through. Where for 1 week we'd go up to Whitefish Lake and spend a week with our grandparents, and it was called Grandchildren's Week. And one of the things that we did, after sometimes when we got to be a little older, we were a little embarrassed about it, but we went through and now we really enjoy singing this song. Sure we do. It's called We Are the Kids from Camp St. Anne.
I want to add, every time I've heard this song, and there's a lot of versions to this song, every time I'm at camp, it's wrong every other way but the way we're going to sing it.
Here goes.
There you go.
It's been a while, but I think
We are the kids from Camp St. Anne you hear so much about. The people stop and stare at us whenever we go out. We're noted for our cleverness and the many things we do. Other people like us and we hope you like us too. As we go marching and the band begins to P-L-A-Y, you can hear them shouting. The kids from Camp St. Anne are on their way. How, how!
I'll bet you can count on both hands and then some the number of times you had to sing that and didn't want to. But it's all worth it to be that brilliant at this stage of the game. Madelia and Hinckley came together at Square Lake one year, and since that happened, the lives of Bob Christensen and Marge Dempsey have been anything but square. Normally, in my experience, Aunt Marge has had the last word. Tonight we're going to change that, though. We're going to give you the second last word. So, Marge, would you come up and give us your thoughts on Bob's 70th birthday and all the years? You're the only Marge Dempsey I know.
We didn't plan on warning you about that. That's
You've never needed any warning before?
Well, this past August, we were just married 45 years. So I always say, you know, that every moment has just been divine. I'm sure that everybody at this room can appreciate that. But, what do I think of Bob? Lots. You know, there was a little joke in Reader's Digest not long ago that said two women were talking, Jean and Marge, and they said, "Did you ever think of divorcing your husband?" And Jean said, "Heavens, no. Divorce, never. Murder, yes." You know, I do love that old son of a gun. And there isn't really much I wouldn't do for him, and I'm sure he feels the same way. But most of all, as long as I have this little thing in my hand, I want to really thank all of you for coming, because everyone in the room have stood by us through these 45 years. Not all of those, but through the years, through many, many times that weren't all laughing and fun like we are tonight. And you stood through us through those years and the good years too. And those are the things that Bob and I talk about lots of times when we're on the shores of Whitefish Lake. And also, I want to get a little bit away from Bob for a minute. Tell the children how very wonderful it is for them to do this for Bob tonight. And that my first statement when I came in the room is, never, never, never is this old girl going to be 70. Never. But I think this is the most wonderful thing. And I suppose it might sound like I'm afraid Bob won't say thank you, but I want to say thank you from my very heart. And what do I think about Bob? Well, first of all, I don't know what I'd do without him. And retirement is something else again, as all of you know. It isn't all roses and sunshine up there. It's a beautiful place to live, and we always think we have the best of two worlds because we come down here so very often. But it is lonesome up there without all of you and our children. And we miss all of you very, very much. So this is a really wonderful gathering tonight. And we truly are enjoying it, and this will help pass many, many moments when we're alone up there. And it really quiets down, you know. And quiet is very good. But like everything else in life, you can get too much quiet, too. The other day, Bob said to me, Marge, do you ever think, he said, that you'd like to rent an apartment in the city for a few months? You know, in the fall and early winter. And, well, I don't really think we're going to do that. Because we do like it, and we're nested in there pretty firm. But thank you all for coming, and I do love Bob with all my heart.
Thank you very much, Marge. Well, my Uncle Bob, my favorite Uncle Bob, has been my role model all of my life. And I was thinking of saying on the way over here, I was thinking of saying that I wouldn't be the person that I am without his help. But I decided not to do that because I don't want him to get discouraged. One of the thoughts, I don't think it's so funny. One
of the thoughts I have is that how happy everybody here is tonight. And I'm sure the thing that Bob would wish for us does, and that I do and all of us do it, let's make our best effort to make the rest of our lives as happy as we are tonight by making contributions to ourselves and to the people around us. There's no reason we can't be this happy all the time. Bob, you're going to be the last speaker tonight, if you want to be. If I were sitting there and you were standing here, you would stand here until I got up here. So I'm going to do the same thing.
I want to say once more, thank you to each and every one of you, our children, for putting this on. It was a complete surprise to me. In fact, it hasn't really dawned on me yet as to what's happened here. Many of you have, everyone here has made a very special effort to be here. Many of you have come from quite a distance. Katie is here from Overton, Nevada. Bert is here from Houston, Texas. And the whole gang from Adelia are here. Bob and Lucille Laughlin from up at the lake. Helen and Jim from Farmington near Detroit. It really overwhelms one. You know, if a lot is said in religion through all our lives, there's people here from every faith, including no faith, I imagine. Pardon me. But regardless of that, more should be talked about heaven, really. And I think Sonny really hit the nail on the head here, that this is a touch of heaven. And an awful lot of the good things said here tonight I really didn't deserve. You didn't really hear all the bad part, and I hope to God we can keep it quiet. But really, this is a touch of heaven. And heaven must be, really, and I don't know any more about it than anybody else in this world, but it must be a place where you can spend 1,000 years with each person and just go on and on and on. It must be. Because this certainly is a little touch of heaven. And I was interested in all the remarks and the ability shown here tonight, and I won't start singling people out because we'll be here for another hour, but it's just terrific, the things that I have learned from every single person here, starting with my sister, really. She's my first cousin, but she's really my sister, Ruth, over here, down in Madelia, and all the way through. And so I'm just going to say thank you very, very much.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for inviting us.
Bob, you're stunning in that bathing suit.
Yeah!
That's the bathing suit that Bob wore when I first met him at Foley Camp. He was on
That suit's 48 years old. That's an old Jansen.
Gene, you must remember that suit.
You know why I haven't said anything on
I wonder why.
Because I know the truth.